Everyone, good evening across Central Oregon. It has been another hot day for this Wednesday, but get ready to put that August heat in your rearview mirror at least through this weekend, because some bigger changes are expected to our weather pattern. Hey everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Whittinger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center. We're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast for the high desert, starting off with what we're seeing across Central Oregon right now. Tons of sunshine, a little bit of haze, a little bit of smoke. That smoke, some of it is from a couple of wildfires that have started up during the last couple of days, and a little bit more of it is just because of the extreme subsidence we've been seeing under this broad ridge of high pressure, and there's very little cloud cover out there. Now, a couple of the cameras from the Oregon Hazards Lab network are zoomed in to some of the fires we have, but we're going to talk about them. However, we can't really see them. You can't really make out that smoke plume in any of the cameras. First up is the Pine Fire, or 826, incident 826. That is in Crook County, in central Crook County, just on the northern edge of the Maury Mountains. And it's about 6 miles southeast of Post. And this fire has grown up to about 50 acres. That's the latest update from the National Interagency Fire Center. And when it comes to what we've been seeing with it, it started to grow pretty fast. There are several crews that are continuing to work on this fire, and we do not have a report on containment. However, what we do have is a level 3 go now evacuation, and that is for the Pine Creek Reservoir on Forest Road 17 to Forest Road 150. And this fire, last check, it was continuing to grow. At the moment, we haven't had any much of an update since the last hour or so. Now, when it comes to the rest of the Tri-County area, that is the only evacuation zone in Central Oregon. We are continuing to track a few other things. Also notably is the Glass Butte fire, and last check that was only about 5 acres, and it's just south of the extreme southeastern corner of Deschutes County. But also, we're continuing to track all the progression of the Aubrey Mountain fire. The reason this one's important to us is it is through the Willamette Pass. Now, it's at about 75% containment, and at last update, only 29 acres. Now, there is still a pair of level 1B ready evacuations right along Highway 58 or Willamette Pass, and just to the north of it. And here through the last several days, we've been keeping an eye on this one. But when we go ahead and just focus on air quality, because these fires have been putting some smoke in the air, the worst air quality is around Detroit and Detroit Lake, and the hourly average still has it at moderate air quality, but through the Tri-County area, the hourly average is good air quality, except for one location, and that one location is Warm Springs, where it's just down to moderate. You can actually see where the satellite-derived hotspots have picked up on the Pine Fire, and that's the one that's just to the southeast of Post in central Crook County, near the northern edge of the Maury Mountains. Now, here through today, there has been a continued red flag warning, and this was actually expanded in area to include all of the east slopes of the Cascades through Central Oregon, much of South Central Oregon, and much of North Central Oregon. And for the Tri-County area, this stays in effect until 11 p.m. this evening. That's when winds finally starting to taper off. We'll really see winds wane down once we get to the around and after sunset time frame. But here in the last several hours, our relative humidity has been very low. Currently, we're in the 20s with some teens and 33% in Sisters, but just an hour or two ago, we were solidly in the teens percentage-wise. When it comes to wind gusts, they are sitting between 15 and 26 miles per hour along the crest of the Cascades, including the San Ian Pass. We do have stronger wind gusts, and actual wind speeds are mostly 5 to 15 miles per hour this evening. Now, winds have been breezy, but as we get closer to sunset, winds start to taper off. They continue until we're down to a light breeze overnight, and then by tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon, winds are going to get breezy between 2 and 8 p.m. once again. Some of those gusts are again going to be as high as 30 miles per hour. Now, looking at the bigger picture, there is a cold front that's rolling in, and this cold front isn't bringing much of a change up except for lowering our temperatures and rising our humidity, those percentages through the next couple of days. And looking at the bigger picture, There's a lot of activity over Canada, BC, and going back over to the northern Pacific Ocean and Gulf of Alaska. That's all riding the northern edge of a broad ridge of high pressure. Now, there's another high in the Four Corners region that's been back building into the Pacific Northwest, but that high is actually flattening out, and it means it's weakening and pushing further to the south. That's actually going to allow for all this activity over Canada, all the way out over the Gulf of Alaska, to dip a little further south. As that happens, that starts to impact us. But looking at water vapor satellite imagery, we are seeing that there's still a slot of very dry air over central Oregon, still some subsidence over the region as well, and we're still under that ridge of high pressure. But another thing that we're noticing is in this graphic and the one before, we have these isobars, these equal lines of pressure, and over the Tri-County area, the isobars were pretty stacked up the last couple of hours, and when they're tight, we call that a tight gradient, and what that means is winds are pretty breezy in that area. And winds are going to start to taper off here in the next couple of hours. But let's look at our forecast model, because the big change up we're looking at for this weekend comes with some changes to the moisture level in our atmosphere and the precipitable water values as well. So here through tonight on the backside of this weak cold front, some in and out clouds are expected. Maybe a sprinkle or two, but that is definitely stressing the maybe. By Thursday, we start off with clearing, get some evening clouds, and those evening clouds are going to be the beginning of our next warm front. Now, we're not looking at a bump in temperatures, but it's going to be a mild night, Thursday night going into Friday. Some sprinkles are possible. By Friday, we get a chance of a few isolated showers. Now, remember, Friday and Saturday, any showers that develop are tracking for thunderstorm potential. But then by Friday night going into Saturday, the cold front catches up with us. Yes, the cold front fizzles out, but the moisture stays with us, and we are looking at showers Friday night and through Saturday. Saturdays, if we get some early midday clearing, I should say, we have the potential of heating up a little bit more, and then a chance of some thunderstorms. So it is something we're going to be tracking, but by Sunday, another weak front starts to roll in. However, we're not looking at much in the way of rain from that. In fact, we have to look at the long-range forecast model to really focus on Sunday, but after Sunday, we're back to sunshine in our next warming trend. So by Saturday at 11 p.m., still have some clouds over the area. By Sunday, some light showers are going to be possible. So you'll notice on the 7-day planner, when we get there, Saturday is the best chance of rain. Then we get scattered showers that are going to be off and on, and we may get a couple thunderstorms. By Friday and Sunday, either side of that main event, we're looking at the chance of some showers. By Monday, clearing, sunshine, warming. And that warming continues through Tuesday and Wednesday with very little in the way of cloud cover. So our next ridge of high pressure will be setting up over the region. So between now and Friday at 11 p.m., some of us do get wet. So let's slow this down. Let's track it day by day. By Friday at 7 a.m., we're starting to get some showers working their way into the Tri-County area. Then by Friday night, more rain starts to roll in. Now, not everybody gets wet Friday, but by Saturday, most of us do get wet, and then by the time we get to Saturday night, we'll start to see a little bit more shower activity into the overnight hours, but also by Saturday night, periods of clearing. Meanwhile, temperatures right here, right now, are in the 80s with a few 70s and 90s out there. Today, we topped out in the upper 80s and lower to mid 90s, so a little closer to average for this time of the year. And by tomorrow, we're going to be a little below average for this time of the year. But ultimately, today we saw a 5 to 12 degree drop in temperatures. And tonight, we go from the 80s where we're sitting now into the 50s with some 40s. By the time we get to tomorrow, we're topping out in the lower to mid 80s with a few 70s possible. Now, when it comes to our UV intensity forecast, we're still looking at sunshine during the midday and early afternoon hours on Thursday. So our UV intensity is still going to be very high. By Friday, with more clouds, that comes down a little bit. By Saturday and Sunday, we have a chance of rain. We have more clouds over the area. We're to moderate UV intensity. So let's look at a different forecast model. This one really hones in on the surface temperature. I also threw some streamlines on there, so wind speed and direction. And you do see some surface analysis on there as well, where the cold fronts, warm fronts, so on and so forth. And I threw some words there as well. Now through Thursday, winds are still going to be breezy by the afternoon. Highs in the 80s and a few 70s. Now more in and out clouds are expected. We start with the early clouds and then get the sunshine, and we're back to more cloud cover by the evening. evening hours. Then Friday, we're sitting in the warm sector of this next system. The warm front has already passed us. The cold front has not yet. And we could get some showers by the afternoon. Highs in the 80s with some 70s, and a cooler air mass is digging into the Pacific Northwest. So our cooling trend continues. But then our cold front fizzles out, and a reinforcing front rolls in. By Saturday, we're looking at a better chance of rain. Off and on showers expected, the potential of some thunderstorms, winds only getting breezy at times, and even cooler. 70s with a few 80s. So truly roller coaster temperatures, or yo-yo temperatures, if you want to call it that. But the best chance of rain is going to be Saturday. We have a risk of thunderstorm activity. Then by Sunday and Monday, temperatures really start to rebound. So for tonight, you can expect 50s and some 40s. By Thursday, we're looking at 80s. A few 70s are going to be possible, but they'll be few and far between, mostly in our highest elevations. And then our 7-day planner shows that we get even cooler Friday, 70s with some 80s by Saturday. That's going to be the coolest day out of the next 7. By Sunday, temperatures start to rebound. By Monday, we're back to sunshine and temperatures beginning to warm up once again. So let's look at your headlines for this Wednesday, August the 13th. High fire danger continues through this evening. Cooler weather's on the way, with breezy days on through the next couple of days. Mostly afternoon and evening is when those wind speeds are going to pick up. And by this weekend, rain is back in the forecast, and some storms are going to be possible. But just another quick reminder for you, we do still have a red flag warning, and that goes until 11 p.m. this evening. We are still tracking the progression of a fire. This is called the let me zoom in. This is called the Pine Fire, and it's located about 6 miles to the southeast of Post, so central Crook County, and on the northern fringe of the Maury Mountains. This did see some substantial growth. It's now at 50 acres per the National Interagency Fire Center, and it does still have a level 3 go now evacuation associated with it. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News at 11 p.m. on ABC and CBS. We'll get some new forecast model guidance in, take a look at those numbers, and give you the latest updates for your most reliable forecast. We'll see you then.